Tap in with me. Is your mic used for spoken word, music, comedy, or podcasts? Why don't you take a seat on my couch and share your craft? Focus on the future. Reminisce about the past. This segment pinpoints your journey to the top. So make your presence felt before the mic drops. Tap in with me. This is the Mic Drop with B. Anderson, and today we are sitting down with a special guest, and we've had the opportunity to connect before this, but I'm going to let her talk a little bit about herself. So would you like to introduce yourself?
Absolutely. My name is Amy Tuttle, and I'm a community-based artist. I also serve as the director of programming for WordPlay Cincy. I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming on.
Yeah.
So let's dive right into it.
All right, let's go.
What is WordPlay Cincy?
Sure. So WordPlay is a literary arts center, and what we do is we spark storytelling. We collaborate with Cincinnati's young people, and we offer a bunch of different opportunities through literary arts, writing, poetry, spoken word, creative writing, also through drama and theater and visual arts and all sorts of other explorations. And so we're storytelling plus art making to support young people as they grow into themselves, as they grow into the person that they want to be. Oh. And we also love to see our students start to vision the future too, and get a sense of how they can impact the social climate, how they can shift the culture in their home, in their school, in their neighborhood. And so we're really supporting a creative youth leadership and giving a safe space for expression. Love to hear young people tell their stories.
Well, they say children are the future, and so to know that you have a role in developing the next generation, especially when it has to do with poetry and spoken word, really arts in general, that's beautiful to see, because some of us who are doing it on a high level won't always be in that position. And so, that's great. So for someone who is checking out this interview and they may want to know, how can I find out more about WordPlay Cincy? How can they find out more?
It's a great question. We're like a growing organization. We've been around for 10 years, and we're kind of on this growth edge of something you and I spoke about earlier of like, there's starting to be like a little bit of a buzz, like, oh, do you know WordPlay? Do you know WordPlay? Do you know WordPlay? So ways that you can connect with us and get to know us and start to follow our story. One is our website, so just wordplaycincy.org. Social media, we're pretty active on Instagram and Facebook, just WordPlay Cincy. We also have a YouTube channel where we try to show videos of young people in action. So sometimes we'll put up a video of a class, a performance, a collaborative visual art project that students worked on with a teaching artist. So our YouTube is a good way to get to know us as well. Yeah.
And YouTube is WordPlay Cincy as well.
WordPlay Cincy, yep.
So COVID has been difficult for everyone. It has been a problem for all of us. How has the pandemic positively or negatively affected WordPlay Cincy?
Yeah, thanks for that question. It absolutely has been something that's impacted every level of community. I know for myself, big personal impact, and then for our organization, we saw a lot of change, and we had to really quickly adapt. And so for the past 2 years, we've been offering hybrid programming. So we'll do some stuff in person,
Mm-hmm.
and we also have done a lot of virtual work. We have some deep relationships with Cincinnati Public Schools and also Northern Kentucky Covington Public Schools, and we're able to continue to support students in writing and poetry and spoken word via virtual classes. And so we spent a lot of time in the last couple of years online and just really sparking community and connection. And that's actually how we met too, is that you stepped on a Wordplay open mic.
Yeah, I was going to talk about that. What made you all go that route of a virtual open mic? Because after I joined that one, which was a lot of people may not know, my first ever open mic that I did, what was it that made you all go that route to say, hey, we want to do a virtual open mic?
Yeah, great. We used to have monthly in-person open mics, and they were this really awesome intergenerational opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
So most of our work is focused on young people, ages like 4 all the way through young adult, 18, 19, 20. And open mic nights, though, have been our regular opportunity for community building across generations. So we had amazing pre-pandemic open mics where we were hearing from people all over the community who wanted a chance to come and share their art making, their poetry. And honestly, we were just missing that. We miss doing open mics. It's fun for us, it's creative, it's an expressive outlet. So we thought, why don't we try to do some virtual open mics? I think throughout the height of what I think of as like Zoom land or Zoom time during the pandemic, maybe we did about 3 open mic nights. And each was interesting because we ended up pulling in more adults through the open mic nights that were virtual than teens. And that's kind of a flip around. Like typically we have more teens and less adults. So that kind of clued us in to like, okay, like the whole community needs support.
Yeah, because I know the first one that I was on, Manuel Iris was on there, and we were able to make a connection from there. He'll be on the show in a couple months, and so that was really cool. I appreciate that platform because it really helped me step out of my shell and to really get into what I'm doing currently. So that was a great outlet for me. As far as personal and community based, how can various arts help grow the community and grow the culture?
Yeah. So, I think art making in its essence, in its simplest, most potent form, is expression and connection. This chance to be clear, to become aware of where I'm at. At Wordplay, we have this really kind of simple formula of storytelling, beginning, middle, end, past, present, future. And this using the arts as a vehicle or a set of tools to gain expression or gain literacy. And so that literacy can be with words, word consciousness, like, okay, I learned all of this vocabulary and now my writing is more robust. Also, literacy is social, it's emotional, it's political, and this, how do I become as dynamic of a human being, as like multi-dimensional of a human being as possible? And so I think when we have the chance to be supported in writing, in poetics, in movement, in performance, any of the art forms, we have a chance to like really reflect and coalesce and offer our expression. And that connects us, that brings us together as humans, like builds this dynamic sense of empathy. Like when I hear your story, then I hear bits, it's a mirror, I hear bits of my own story. And I also can celebrate your story. I'm like, oh, like your story is amazing. And so expression and celebration are what I constantly come back to as why the arts. I have this special role of organizing programs at Wordplay, and I also am an artist myself. It's really important to me to keep art at the center of my personal experience
Mm-hmm.
too. And this, like, it's become the lens through which I understand my reality, and in which I can empathize and connect with people around me.
You know, it's interesting that you say that, because I've had a love for poetry since being a teenager.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't really say that it was my passion until I became, you know, really a full-blown adult. I, you know, deal with a lot of depression and mental health and things of that sort. And when I would see my doctor, he would always tell me, you know, you want to find your outlet. You want to find your outlet. And, you know, exercise would be an outlet, but it was kind of temporary. And so, you know, I always had a love for writing. And in instances where I felt like I didn't have anyone to talk to, I really just started to write. I really started to write. And I noticed slowly but surely that I started to feel better. So, you know, that really resonates with me when you talk about, from an individual standpoint, how various arts can help a person. You know, it can make you feel good, it can make you cry, it can make you dry your eyes, it can do all kind of different things, and that's what makes it so great. So, would you like to share a piece?
Yeah, I would love to share a piece. I actually, if it's okay with you, have 2 pieces.
Yes. I always tell people, I would never say no to a poem on this segment.
Okay, perfect. The first piece, this is a fresh piece. It was written this morning in collaboration with students at WordPlay. Each student wrote one of the lines, and based on some of our favorite books. So here it is. Capitalism demand every bit of his attention. We pray for my grandfather, a cry of relief and joy, all these literary battles played out.
I always feel like there is a time for long pieces, but then when you hear something that's kind of short and sweet, it has so much substance to it. Yeah. And it's like, man, it makes you want to go back and read it again.
Absolutely. Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, I think we ended up, just from that 6-line poem, we had a whole, like, 45-minute long discussion and art making, visual art making, just breaking it down. We're like, well, what do we mean? We built this thing kind of accidentally. It was like a bit of a collage of where each of us was at, and it all came together to tell this story of, like, that is a collective story of, like, what does capitalism look like now? What are the implications? What does it mean to me as a young person? And we had to also, like, take the time to get on the same page about, like, what even is capitalism. What we landed on is the pursuit of making money. So maybe with that context, I'll read it again, and we can just let it kind of sink in. These are mostly 12-year-olds working with this today.
I love it.
Capitalism, or the pursuit of money. Capitalism demanded every bit of his attention. We pray for my grandfather, a cry of relief and joy, all these literary battles played out.
Wow. And especially when you put that definition and that meaning at the very beginning, it gives it even more substance than the first time. So I love it.
Thanks.
I love it.
I always love the chance to hear poetry more than once if I can.
Yeah.
Like, anytime I go to a spoken word event or I hear our students speak, I always want to hear it again. I'm like, oh, can I just hear that one more time?
Especially when you either know or you get the opportunity to understand that person's background. It makes it that deeper, you know.
Absolutely true. Absolutely true. So this poem turned today into, like, a really juicy exercise where we were exploring conflict versus peace, and problems versus solutions. Looking at it through the lens of one of our students said a really profound thing about walking away. His name is Dell, and Dell's been with WordPlay since he was 8. He's 12 now.
Wow.
Dell was like, he's brilliant. So he said walking away is neither powerful or weak. It's not a power and it's not a weakness. It's often just simply the right thing to do. And so when do we walk away? When do we turn around and face it? When do we walk right into it? When is conflict a necessary step in transformation? When is conflict destructive?
And those are, you know, those are choices that we have to make on a daily basis.
Absolutely. Those are human choices. I agree. And so it's beautiful to see young people really take the headspace to articulate that, to like work it out. Often these days I'm hearing things from the adults in the room, the adults around, like, oof, if I had had this when I was a teenager, it would have really impacted my life. And so we'll see, you know, like what kind of people they grow into. I have a good feeling about it. Okay, so I'll read one of my own pieces too.
Okay.
At least part of it. So I selected a long piece, so I'll read a bit of it at least. But
okay.
The title is Present. Present. I look at the world and I see harmony, disharmony. We're facing it, and we're turned away. Theatrical display of sides, tribute to beauty, breaking, creation, contradiction. And I wonder, what if we adopt the central space, the in-between, right now, in this present moment, the being alive, thrash, grow, uplift, nourish, connect, live, die, with seeds safe held under tongues, thrash, grow, uplift, nourish, connect, live, die. Dust bound, ground all up, desire, fistfuls of soil. We're neither young nor old nor midlife, we're just now. Present. Our limits beg only permission. Beg only permission to tread further into belonging, to thrash, grow, uplift, nourish, connect, live, die, floating, forming, freeing, foolhardy, flinging fits for shadow, fatful of expression, or lean of speech. When is my offering bread? When is my offering bread? When is my silence plenty? In which direction is time running? Which direction is time running, and does it care? Does time stand in self-knowing, or run down all paths at once, grasping back and forth, antimatter's close shadow on each footstep, until the pilgrim halts, vision close at hand. And sometimes I notice there isn't enough to bend the conditions back toward our collective yearning. Sometimes I just have to drop my hands here now and let all the glitter sprinkle out. Let the body melt into a warm river, the current of things, knowing we can rise ashore any moment, set up camp, and start singing.
I love the questions that are posed in this piece. I feel like they're, once again, everyday questions. These are things that we live with on a daily basis. And, you know, I love how you keep going back to just the different things that occur in life, and you end it with life and death, you know, because that's what it's all about. That's a powerful piece. That's a
Thank
real
you.
strong piece. So,
Thank
and I've heard you, you know, recite poems in the past, and that's up there. So, I really appreciate you giving us that.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks so much. It's amazing to have an opportunity to share it, and that I love what you're connecting to, this bit of everyday questions.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's something that has become more and more important to me,
Mm-hmm.
is how do we make any of this stuff practical? Like, how can poetry be practical?
Mm-hmm.
How can social impact work be practical? How can my artistry and performance be practical? And by practical, I think what I mean is oriented to service, and toward connection. In this piece, there's that like thrash, grow, uplift, nurse. That there's like so many ingredients that we need for quality of life, to have a good human life, and they're such raw qualities. Those ingredients are usually kind of simple, deep. Like simple, deep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, having the opportunity to connect with you, you are actually doing something that almost everyone strives to do, and that is live out their dreams. Let's rewind a little bit and talk about the fact that you attended Eastern University. You got your master's degree. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
What made you want to study urban studies?
Yeah, great. Yeah, so I went to grad school. It feels now like a million years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I really wanted to live in Philly. I had this like strong attraction to Philly, so magnetism.
Yeah.
I must go there.
Yeah.
So I moved there, and I was working in a really pretty compelling space. I was working in a space that was doing cultural preservation work for West African immigrants. And so this bit of like preserving the culture and supporting the preservation of the culture through festivities and arts events and et cetera, I like landed there somehow through a series of strange events. And it was a really great place to end up. And then I learned about this graduate school program, which was the intersection between cultural life in the city and arts and healing. Okay. And so it's Urban Studies, Arts, and Transformation was the title of the program. And for me, why I wanted to study that is that I knew that the arts had a transformative capacity. Whether it's in its simplest form of expression or in its more complex, transformative form of like healing deep wounds, intergenerational wounds, wounds between peoples, post-disaster wounds. I just wanted to learn more about that and understand how is it that the arts do this stuff? Like, how is it that art making can be this like safe entry and like gateway into really extraordinary human experiences? And so that program ended up being an incredibly good fit. And in that program, I ended up, like, both during my time there and after, getting pretty deeply involved in working internationally in arts and healing. And so I spent some time doing disaster relief through art making, which is really just like coming into a situation where there's been a recent collective challenge or disaster, and supporting existing cultural arts so that they do not disappear. Because often this is like a whole kind of rabbit hole, but briefly, often post-disaster, there's this rush in of all of this international aid. Not all the time, but sometimes it happens. And what can happen is that displacement of people and disorientation because of trauma, practices can start to kind of like disappear or go to the edge of things. But the thing is that in those moments, the things that bring us back to ourselves are the things that connect us as humans, like singing, like dancing, like making food, like cultural activities, the culture. And so my job in those situations was to really provoke and catalyze the culture, to like maintain the culture, to keep it at the center of things. So even as the physical structures are falling apart, we're staying together as individuals, as a community. And then from that space, we can rebuild together. And it's just a way to stay healthy and self-determined in a situation where it's often really compromised. So, yeah.
Well, that leads me into my next question. With your role as a member of the Global Arts and Medicine Fellowship, talk about that.
Sure, I'd love to. One of my hands down favorite roles that I get to play in life right now. So for about the last 3 years, I've been serving on the faculty for the Global Arts and Medicine Fellowship Project. And it's a project that connects artists, healthcare practitioners from all over the world to come together to learn best practices and then to create collaborative projects that span the globe. And it's fascinating. So it's folks learning and practicing and developing really cutting edge ideas for how communities can self-organize to really put the arts first and to prioritize the arts in the healing process, especially in medical settings. So if somebody, for example, is suffering from depression, mental health challenges, in a medical setting, how can we use the arts to speed up that healing, to really honor where they are in life right now, and to find a path forward that's expressive and that's connects to human culture. So I get to teach in that role, and then also guide, inform, and encourage fellows in their projects and their explorations. So I do a lot of like offering anything from like really detail oriented kind of administrative feedback to supporting the process of getting more to the heart of the matter. Like, what is your vision? What impact do you want to have? How can this project truly serve your community and connect your community to the global field of arts and medicine?
And I think those questions can be applied, and that's what I love about art, is the multiple meanings and the fact that you can literally ask those same questions to someone who's starting their own business. You can ask those kind of questions in any kind of setting and they all apply. So I think that is wonderful. And I really appreciate you for being a pioneer in the arts community.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks. I appreciate that too.
So this is the part of the show where I ask Amy a couple of miscellaneous questions. The first question I want to ask you is, when you're just riding around, on any random occasion, what kind of music do you listen to?
Oh, good. Oh, wow. Okay. Well, so when I'm teaching, a lot of times I like lean into more lo-fi, or I'll even get into some soul. When I'm at home, I really like, I listen to a lot of soul. I think soul is really where it's at for me. When I'm cooking, I'm listening to soul.
Okay.
That's mostly what's playing for me. I also got really into Hermanos Gutierrez, which is a band from Mexico City, and I think listening to the Hermanos Gutierrez radio on Spotify is one of my favorite little rabbit holes to get into as well. During the pandemic, this is starting to sound like a Spotify ad, and I promise I don't work for Spotify. Just that's where my mind went. But so during the pandemic, I really liked also every week listening to my Discover Weekly, because I would just learn all of these new musicians. Jazz also, I really love jazz, and so learning about Jasmine Horn and like all of these new kind of avant-garde artists that I don't think I would have discovered if it wasn't for that playlist.
Okay.
So,
Okay. Interesting. Narrow your principles down into 3 words.
Oh. Question. Oh, I like that. Okay. Perspective or wisdom? Perspective, beauty, connection.
I love it. I love it. Well, as I said before, I really appreciate you sitting down with me. And before we close the show, why don't you let everyone know what you or WordPlay Cincy will be doing next? Where can people find you all next? And tell them where they can find you on social media.
Perfect. Can do. So Wordplay, you can follow us on Instagram and on Facebook and also YouTube. And then we also have a robust website. What's next for us is we're currently opening a new building. And so 1556 Chase Avenue in Northside, it's amazing. It's donned with like a gorgeous mural that we worked on for a couple of years that we finished up this summer. And we just opened for classes last week. So building's open, everything's free, and we're especially focused on young people. We do also have intergenerational classes. We love to see you. Just come by, say hi, reach out. I love giving tours of the building as well, especially the mural. I think I feel really personally inspired, and also I feel like it's such a beautiful glimpse or story of the community. The process to build that specific mural was extremely collective, was collaborative. One other thing that's next for us that I brought with me because I'm so excited about it is this is the anthology of student works throughout the pandemic, which Brian was like a really, really, really big part of this coming together. And so this is the copy, and we'll be doing an event to celebrate these as well as getting them into the hands of all the student authors. And what I love about this is that it's a really inclusive anthology, so it's including a lot of different voices, and it also is embossed in Braille, and so it's accessible as well, and we love to see it. It's really multi-dimensional.
Yeah, I remember I knew exactly what it was when you put it up. I said, man, I remember those work directly on that.
Yes, you did. A lot of work went into this. Many goodness, like 100 students, 20 teaching artists, 3 designers, Clover Nook and all of your expertise. A whole community came together to make this happen, and we're so excited to have these and to get them out into the community too.
Well, once again, thank you for everything that you do, especially from the perspective of art. It is much appreciated. Thanks. And continue to do what you do to grow our next generation in arts. Everyone, please tap in with WordPlay Cincy. You won't be disappointed. If you have kids and teenagers who love poetry, love spoken word, get them connected with WordPlay Cincy. This has been the Mic Drop with B. Anderson, and I will catch you all next time. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to like and comment on it, and subscribe to my channel for more exclusive content like this.